Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We got a little 5-game slate here for you tonight. In this one, taking a look at the Bulls, headed to NOLA, taking on the Pellies. A bunch of guys questionable for those Bulls, so we'll be taking a look at that and some of the best bets in this one. Nate does have his great article up on playpicks.com with some best bets and player props in there for you. And make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Check out the other couple videos we have up for you today, including that player props. Look to stay hot on that 3-1 night that we had last night. And make sure you are checking out thelines.com. Head to that odds checker and make sure you're getting the best bets and juice available on all of those odds out there for you. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, we got 5 games on the slate here. The Pelicans seem to open with a lot of value. They were originally plus 1.5 at home against the struggling Bulls. Now it's down to -2 for New Orleans, and that total, which also had some value at 227, around 225.5 right now. Because DeMar DeRozan is questionable, I think, is why we're seeing such line movement. If he were declared out, both things would move pretty considerably. He has an abductor injury that has seemed to limit him as the Bulls were blown out yet again in Milwaukee on Tuesday. So Zach LaVine's props are up if you think DeRozan's not going to play, and LaVine at 25.5 points, even money there. But we'll get into all things this game in a second. 4 other games on the slate here. Cavs are plus 5.5 at Toronto. Pretty low total there at 214.5, with the Cavs going over in 5 straight. Pacers are plus 12.5 at Memphis. That total's all the way at 238. But I'm not sure about how Memphis will respond after an emotional win there against Brooklyn last night. And Wizards plus 13 at the Bucks. So that one a little scary in terms of the lofty spread there. And then the other game we break down is the Suns plus 4 at Nuggets. Rare to get the Suns at such value, but they are on a back-to-back after a comeback win in Minnesota, as Josh says. So Bulls right now are struggling. It lost 9 of their last 12 at this point. Now 2-7 in their last 9 against teams above 500, with both wins coming at home. Pelicans are not above 500 on the season, but they are 7-6 with the 5th best net rating since the All-Star break. And they sputtered a little bit without CJ and Brandon Ingram. Ingram is still out. But CJ's been back in their last 5. They're 4-1 against the spread, and they have the 2nd best defensive rating during that span. Also, the number 1 rebounding rate with Joe Val anchoring the paint there, whereas the Bulls are dead last in rebounding rate during their last 5, and also have a 120 defensive rating during that span. Pelicans learning a little bit how to play without Ingram, it seems. Their defensive rating still much worse on the season without him. And their offense drops as well. They do get Larry Nance to debut tonight, I think. He's been out with sore knee, but if he's in there, he slots into a nice physical role at the 4 there. Probably give you 20, 25 minutes. I mean, they have Herb Jones, Najee Marshall, guys that give you a lot defensively and not a lot offensively. So I think even if DeRozan plays, it's hard to imagine the Bulls snapping out of their offensive funk in this particular matchup. The Pelicans have just been pretty tough to rack up points again. I mean, you look at their game log basically since the All-Star break, they've given up huge totals to the Nuggets, Grizzlies, Hornets without both of their guys there, and the Suns. But those are 4 of the best offenses we have, and they've just been huge totals. The other teams they face, they've held to about 106, under 100 against the Jazz, the Kings, Lakers, teams that play shootouts a lot. The Spurs, another team that plays fast and plays shootouts, and they didn't even get 100 points in losses to the Pelicans, who've been a little more consistent at home, still kind of fluctuating because they've had guys in and out of the lineup. But I don't trust the Bulls to score right now, which makes me lean under if it doesn't move much more than this at 225.5. I like it. Maybe a teaser to get the Pels back to a pick'em or +1, +2, and get that under back closer to 230. I don't mind that at all. The Pelicans are 13-6 to the under when they have a rest advantage. This is the Bulls' 3rd game in 4 nights, 2nd game of a 5-game road trip. They're also 7-3 against the spread as home favorites. And the Bulls numbers on the road are just abysmal. I mean, especially they're just getting worse and worse lately. Now 5-14 against the spread as road dogs, failing to, losing by an average of 9 points per game, 14-21 overall against the spread on the road. I mean, the one thing they do give up a ton of is 3-pointers, but the Pelicans score the third least percentage of points off threes. Bulls not scoring in the paint at all, 23rd in their last 3 games. So I would look, under in general, like I said, but also at the Bulls team under. You're not getting great odds at 112.5, but that's above their season average. It's also above what the Pelicans give up on a season average. And like I said, the Pelicans defense has been so much better lately, whereas the Bulls are down to 25th in offensive rating, scoring 108 in their last 13. So I don't see them scoring 5 above their average here, especially if DeMar DeRozan's out. That's obviously an easy way to lean under for the Bulls.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a little bit unfortunate that we're recording this. We really don't know if DeMar is going to play, mostly because everything kind of changes for me if he does. I mean, I still kind of like this under, even if he does play, to be honest. I think a huge reason, you talk about the last 8 for the Bulls and how bad they've been, 1-7 straight up. And that 109.8 offensive rating for them, playing at that pace that they're still just, even at a slow pace, that the defensive rating is 14 points worse than their offensive rating, that net at -14 over their last 8. That seems to be the team they are right now, which is really unfortunate because to your point, if this was the Bulls team that was playing with an offensive rating in the top 5, like it was for a lot of the season, and definitely top 3 in the Eastern Conference, I would feel a little bit better about an over here. Just some of the things that Pelly's been doing at home against good offenses, which I believe you pointed out, not good. They're giving up a lot of points and going over a ton in those games against those teams that they play a little bit faster and they play a little better on offense. We're talking about the Suns, Hornets, even the Rockets, who they only scored 105 on them, but that's a team where it went over because they play at that super fast pace, and obviously the Rockets don't even play a lick of defense. But the Bulls tonight without Lonzo once again tonight, definitely without him. And then, that obviously hurts their defense a ton, but I also think it hurts their pace where they would be going a lot faster if Lonzo's in there pushing the ball up the floor and in that case. So yeah, I think you mentioned the fact that the Bulls have been so bad at 3-point defense, but that's not where the Pellies score at all. Third least since the All-Star break in terms of their percentage of points from 3. So, and then all that to say with DeMar, if he doesn't play, I love this under. If he does play, still like the under. If he doesn't play, we're talking about a Bulls team scoring 10 points fewer per 100 possessions this season when DeMar DeRozan does not play. Their offensive rating is 104.4 in those games without him this season. And that's over the course of about 6 games. So, that doesn't bode well for them to be able to score. Definitely going to take under the Bulls total if probably when DeMar is ruled out tonight. The other reason that this Bulls team has been struggling so much on offense is they're not getting what they were getting from DeMar. And I think, a lot of people who could kind of see what was going on with the Bulls would have already told you before this, this recent streak of DeMar, that if he's not playing at this insane caliber level that he's been at, where he's dropping, 35 a game and all that over the course of that like 10 game span that he just went ballistic. If he's not doing that, then the Bulls are, they're a 500 team. They're a middling team, honestly, especially without the defense that we were expecting them to be able to maintain with Caruso and Ball, who obviously got hurt. So yeah, DeMar, and in his last roughly 8 games since they've been struggling, he has 2 decent games in terms of 36 points against the Pistons. He did drop 26 against the Raptors, which was very impressive considering how well he's playing. That was one of the few good games the Bulls have played as of late against those Raptors. And other than that, we're talking about him averaging about 21 points a game over his last 8. If you take away those 2, that 36-point win against the Pistons, and then that win against the Raptors. So Levine, he stepped it up a little bit more, but it's the same concept for him where he's just got too many duds over the course of their last 8 and hasn't been able to just completely pick up, exactly what DeMar sort of left on the table for them points wise. I think the 225 is too high tonight for a game that we don't trust the Bulls to score the 112 or so that they're at.
Yeah, I mean, you called them a middling team without DeRozan. Without DeRozan last year, they were 31-41. So 10 games below 500 is pretty much a bad team. And scoring 110 a game. DeRozan, yeah, I mean, you mentioned his struggles over the last 8. It's got to be that lingering injury that now is just coming out that he might sit. Sort of the same thing that shut down Damian Lillard for a year and said has been bothering him for a couple of years is an abductor issue. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the Bulls would be wise to give him some rest. I mean, they're really struggling. They're only 2 games now in danger of falling out of the into the play-in tournament. With Toronto coming up, and the Nets also surging. So they really need to get right and fix things. But during this road trip, it might be wise to give DeRozan a little rest.
Definitely.
And as much as you like the under for the Bulls team total, you might think over for the Pels. I mean, if you're thinking that, though, that the -2 spread is definitely juicy if you think they're going to get over. But I'm just looking at this game log. I mean, in the CJ McCollum era, if you will, the Pelicans have gone over this 113 mark in 8 of 10 home games. So that's not really an intimidating number. And you're getting good odds at -106 for the over. Whereas the Bulls under is not as good odds. It's nearly -120 because they've been going under their point total so consistently. These teams have gone over in 6 straight meetings, but as you mentioned, Lonzo Ball pushing the pace. Zion Williamson used to be like and Brandon Ingram used to be the centerpiece of this Pelicans offense as they played no defense, and it's just a completely different feel now with Joe Val being kind of the anchoring point on offense, and with those guys on the wing I mentioned doing a lot of defending, not a lot of scoring. So I think basically we're circling around it. It's just easy to just take the Pelicans at -2 and move on, or parlay it with other things you want tonight.
Yeah, no, we keep talking about the total, but the only way we're talking about the total is that we like the Pellies to hit theirs and the Bulls not to hit theirs. So it seems like a safer bet would just be to take the Pels -2 at that point, because we can easily see this game, going one way on offense for the Pellies and the complete opposite direction on offense for the Bulls. The only other thing I would say, you mentioned Joe Val, probably going to talk about him in those props video if you want to make sure to check that out. But I think what he's been doing as of late, and the fact that the Bulls are pretty weak down low. Vooch, not exactly the centerpiece that you'd like there. They're a little bit better with Tristan Thompson adding a bit on the defensive interior, but at the same time, Joe Val has been incredible in his last 5, averaging more than a double-double. So I'd like to throw out there that if you do like them to win as much as we do, the player performance double for him to get a double-double and a win for those Pellies is +160 on FanDuel there. So I do really like that bet for him, as I think 10 boards is pretty much a lock for him tonight, and those 10 points we can expect, as we have been all season from him. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. You can check out those other couple videos we have for you tonight. And until we see you next, happy betting.